The Sahara, a vast expanse of golden sand, is undergoing a stunning transformation. Green patches are emerging, rivers are flowing, and lakes are forming in places long thought barren. Scientists are puzzled. Is this a natural anomaly, a sign of past climates resurfacing, or the beginning of a dramatic global shift? One thing is certain, the changes unfolding in the world's largest desert could have far-reaching consequences. The question is, what happens next? Let's explore. Unprecedented rainfall and greening. For centuries, the Sahara Desert has been a place of extremes, blistering heat by day, cold by night, and an unforgiving landscape of endless dunes and rocky plateaus. But in September 2024, something remarkable happened that caught scientists' attention. A rare cyclone, carrying a mass of moisture-laden clouds, swept across North Africa. Within hours, the desert's parched sands were drenched by torrential rain, temporarily transforming one of the driest regions on Earth. In Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya, the sky cracked open, unleashing rainfall unlike anything seen in decades. Dry riverbeds, untouched by water for generations, suddenly roared to life, carving fresh paths through the desert floor. And then, something extraordinary occurred. Temporary lakes began to form. Not just small puddles left behind by storms, but vast stretches of water, shimmering under the sun. In some areas, these lakes spanned over 70 square miles, with depths reaching over 7 feet. From space, NASA's satellite images captured a striking contrast. Where there had once been nothing but sand and stone, now lay reflective pools of water. And it wasn't just water that appeared. Almost overnight, patches of green began to emerge. Plants, long dormant beneath the Sahara's surface, suddenly sprang to life, absorbing the rare moisture. Small shrubs, grasses, and even desert flowers began to push through the cracked earth, briefly reclaiming land that had been barren for centuries. For locals, it was a surreal sight. Palms standing partially submerged, their roots anchored in land that had been bone dry just days before. However, this transformation raises important scientific questions. How could such an extreme shift happen so suddenly? Is this just a rare weather event, or could it signal broader climatic shifts? While it is too soon to determine long-term impacts, researchers are closely studying the event to understand its significance. One thing is certain, this was no ordinary rainstorm, and its effects could provide new insights into the complex and evolving climate patterns of our planet. The Sahara is changing right before our eyes. But what do you think? Do you believe we're witnessing the start of a greener Sahara, or is this just a temporary shift? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This sudden transformation may seem shocking, but what if I told you that the Sahara wasn't always a lifeless desert? It was once unrecognizable, teeming with life. The Sahara's past, from lush paradise to barren desert. Thousands of years ago, the Sahara was a lush paradise, teeming with rivers, lakes, and an abundance of wildlife. It may sound impossible, but scientific evidence tells us otherwise. Archaeological discoveries reveal a very different Sahara from the one we know today. Ancient cave paintings etched into rock formations across Algeria and Libya depict giraffes, elephants, hippos, and even human settlements, evidence that this region once supported life on a massive scale. Fossilized pollen and sediment samples extracted from beneath the desert confirm the presence of sprawling grasslands, wetlands, and forests. Scientists refer to this period as the African humid period, a time when seasonal monsoons drenched the land, sustaining a thriving ecosystem. Imagine standing in the heart of what is now the Sahara, but instead of an arid wasteland, you see vast lakes stretching to the horizon. The largest of these was Lake Megachad, an enormous freshwater body covering an area larger than the Caspian Sea. Rivers coursed through valleys, nourishing fertile plains where early human civilizations flourished. The Sahara at that time was a cradle of life. But something changed. Slowly, this green paradise began to disappear. The rains became less frequent, the rivers dried up, the lakes shrank, leaving behind only traces of their former size. What could have caused such a dramatic transformation? Some researchers point to a gradual shift in Earth's orbit, known as Milankovitch cycles, which altered the amount of sunlight reaching the northern hemisphere. This subtle change disrupted the monsoon patterns that had once sustained the Sahara's greenery. Without consistent rainfall, the land could no longer support dense vegetation. The soil, once rich and fertile, turned to dust, and over thousands of years, the Sahara as we know it today emerged. But is this cycle still ongoing? Could the Sahara ever return to its lush green state, or are the recent rains we've seen just a temporary anomaly? Scientists believe that understanding the past could unlock clues about what's happening now and what might come next. So, what changed? How did a once thriving paradise turn into an ocean of sand stretching for thousands of miles? To find the answer, we need to go back in time, way back. How the Sahara became a desert. During the last ice age, which peaked around 20,000 years ago, the world was a very different place. Massive ice sheets, some miles thick, covered much of North America, Europe, and Asia. But what many don't realize is that the Ice Age didn't just affect the frozen regions of the planet. It had far-reaching consequences, even in places as distant as the Sahara. At that time, global temperatures were much colder and weather patterns shifted dramatically. The monsoon system that once drenched the Sahara with life-giving rains weakened. The Earth's atmospheric circulation patterns changed, altering the movement of moisture across the continents. As a result, the Sahara received less and less rainfall. Slowly but surely, the rivers ran dry, the lakes evaporated, and the vast green landscapes turned to dust. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, relentless process that unfolded over thousands of years. As the planet warmed and emerged from the Ice Age, the Sahara briefly experienced another wet period, what scientists call the African humid period, before the drying trend resumed. The culprit? A combination of Milankovitch cycles, natural variations in Earth's orbit and tilt, which gradually changed the amount of sunlight reaching the northern hemisphere. This shift disrupted the monsoons that had once nourished the Sahara. The vegetation that once covered the land could no longer survive, and without plant life to anchor the soil, wind and heat began to erode the landscape. The Sahara as we know it today, an endless expanse of sand, rock, and extreme temperatures, was born. Now, with recent rainfall events and shifting global temperatures, scientists are asking an intriguing question. If the Sahara once supported life, could it happen again? Some researchers believe that if Earth's climate continues to warm and rainfall patterns shift, parts of the Sahara could once again become habitable. Others warn that human-driven climate change could accelerate desertification rather than reverse it. But the story doesn't end there. Scientists have uncovered a powerful force that has dictated the Sahara's fate for thousands of years, and it could be shifting once again. Before exploring, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just hit the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel so much. And if you do that, I will do everything I can to make this show even better for you. Deal? The role of the Intertropical Convergence Zone. The Sahara has never been static. Over thousands of years, it has shifted between a green, life-filled paradise and the vast desert we see today. The force behind these transformations is the Intertropical Convergence Zone, a belt of storms near the equator where trade winds collide, pushing warm, moisture-rich air upward. The ITCZ moves north and south with the seasons, controlling rainfall across the tropics. For the Sahara, its position is crucial. When the ITCZ shifts northward, monsoon rains bring life, filling lakes and supporting vegetation. When it moves southward, the rains vanish and the desert expands. Around 12,500 years ago, dust levels in the Sahara dropped, signaling a wetter climate. As the ITCZ drifted north, seasonal rains transformed the region into a savanna-like ecosystem. This period, called the African humid period, peaked around 4,000 years ago, creating rivers, wetlands, and thriving human settlements near vast lakes like Mega Lake Chad. However, the balance was fragile. A Heinrich event, which disrupted ocean currents and wind patterns, forced the ITCZ southward. The rains disappeared, lakes dried up, and the Sahara reverted to its arid state. Today, the ITCZ continues to shift, but scientists suggest that human-driven climate change may be influencing its movement. Extreme rains like those in September 2024 have sparked debate. Are these natural cycles or signs of a new Sahara transformation? Some models suggest that rising global temperatures could push the ITCZ northward, bringing more moisture and a possible return to a greener Sahara. However, disruptions could also lead to erratic weather, accelerating both flooding and desertification. One thing is certain. The ITCZ has reshaped the Sahara before, and it may be doing so again, but this time, human influence raises the stakes. Not just for the desert, but for global weather patterns. But here's something even stranger. Some of the water from these rains isn't disappearing as quickly as expected. Instead, it's forming lakes in one of the driest places on Earth. How is that possible? The formation of ephemeral lakes. Some areas in North Africa received up to 8 inches of rain. For comparison, Seattle gets about 40 inches per year, only 5 times what the Sahara receives. I say only for one simple reason. Seattle has a reputation for being quite rainy while the Sahara does not. The tricky part is that those 8 inches, essentially the entire yearly quota for this area, fell in a matter of moments. So, in a way, it might have felt rainier in the Sahara than in Seattle. The mountains funnel the water into ephemeral lakes in northern Algeria, which recently expanded to over 70 square miles and reached depths of more than 7 feet. That's enough water to sustain it for a year. So what exactly are these ephemeral lakes? Well, they're basins that fill up for a short time each year, but might stay dry for several years if the rain doesn't cooperate. Sometimes water flows into them from a small surrounding area, or it can just be good old-fashioned rain. Now, a big question arises, how come these lakes exist in the first place? Well, generally they form because there's excess water trapped on the surface, but the soil in the Sahara is incredibly dry. Shouldn't it act like a sponge? It must be thirsting for moisture. Well, think about how eagerly your potted plant drinks up water when you return home from a vacation. However, no matter how parched it is, dry soil can only absorb a limited amount of water, which is often quite small. Similarly, dry soil may not absorb all the water immediately. You might simply be overwatering, or if you check the saucer below, you could find a mini flood. Another significant factor preventing the soil from absorbing water is the lack of vegetation. Under normal conditions, trees, shrubs, and various plants help retain moisture in the desert. However, it's nearly impossible. There may be a few palm trees, but that's about it. This also explains the formation of those temporary lakes. Precipitation that isn't held by plants accumulates in low-lying valleys and depressions, creating these fleeting bodies of water. These lakes may only last for a limited time, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't have names. For instance, the beautiful lake adorned with swaying palms that you see is called Lake Yasmina, located in the oasis town of Moga. However, not all water is a blessing. While the Sahara desperately needs moisture, the sudden influx of rain has created a new, unexpected threat. The dangers of flooding. In certain areas of the desert where the dunes rise, it may appear as though you're looking at a mirage, but it's not. The dunes are partially covered by water. Remember how I mentioned 8 inches? Well, that's not entirely accurate for some regions. There are places where the flooding is so extensive that the palms are submerged up to their crowns. The last time we saw rainfall of this magnitude was decades ago, but this rain is much needed. After 6 consecutive years of drought, Morocco is seeing some relief. Lakes that had been dry for years, like Lake Ariki, are finally replenishing. A recent analysis revealed that out of the hundreds of storms that have hit the region since the year 2000, only 6 brought enough rain to begin refilling this lake, and of those, only 2 resulted in a lake level higher than what we observed in September 2024. While this intense rainfall brings much-needed water, the big question is, will it continue? The answer appears to be yes. When humid air from near the equator meets the hot, dry air from the north, the Sahara Desert tends to experience more rainfall. Scientists suggest that this atmospheric collision zone is shifting further north due to global climate patterns, meaning this trend could continue in the coming decades. That being said, not all the consequences are positive. The region was not fully prepared for flooding of this scale. Tragically, reports indicate that at least 18 people lost their lives due to the extreme rains in southern Morocco. Authorities are actively responding and preparing for the possibility of further heavy rain. But if this trend continues, could it mean significant changes for the Sahara? And what would that mean for the planet? It may seem surprising, but deserts play a vital role in the Earth's ecosystem. They serve as major carbon storage sites and are considered net carbon sinks, with the Sahara alone holding an estimated 1 trillion metric tons of carbon. If you found this journey through the ever-changing Sahara fascinating, give this video a thumbs up. It helps us bring more science and nature content to curious minds like yours. But here's a surprising twist. This massive desert, seemingly barren and lifeless, actually plays a critical role in the health of ecosystems thousands of miles away. The Sahara's role in the global ecosystem. In the fight against climate change, the Sahara, and deserts like it, act as an unexpected but significant factor. While deserts are scorching hot during the day, they also help influence the planet's temperature. Their vast, dry landscapes store carbon deep within the soil, limiting how much is released into the atmosphere. Research suggests that the Sahara alone may hold up to 1 trillion metric tons of carbon. By keeping carbon locked away, the Sahara may help slow the acceleration of global warming. But what happens if the desert begins to change? If increasing rainfall and flooding lead to the Sahara's gradual transformation into a greener environment, it could alter carbon storage dynamics, potentially affecting greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere. It may be surprising, but the Amazon rainforest, one of the planet's most vital ecosystems, relies on dust from the Sahara Desert. Every year, winds sweep across the Sahara, carrying millions of tons of mineral-rich dust high into the atmosphere. This dust travels more than 5,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, eventually settling in the Amazon basin. Why does this matter? Because the soil in the Amazon rainforest is naturally low in essential nutrients, especially phosphorus, which is necessary for plant growth. The dust from the Sahara helps replenish these nutrients, acting as a natural fertilizer that supports rainforest ecosystems. Some scientists suggest that without the Sahara's dust, the Amazon's nutrient cycle would be significantly impacted. The Sahara's influence extends beyond carbon storage and nutrient distribution. The desert also plays a role in shaping weather patterns across the Atlantic, affecting everything from hurricane activity in the Caribbean to rainfall trends in Europe. If the Sahara undergoes rapid transformation, if it starts retaining water, if its sandstorms decrease, scientists are studying how these interconnected systems might respond. Imagine a future where the Sahara is no longer a desert. Do you think that would be good or bad for the planet? Let us know what you think. Your opinion might surprise us. With the Sahara undergoing these dramatic shifts, a crucial question arises. Is this a sign of a greener future, or the beginning of something far more unpredictable? What's next for the Sahara? Climate models suggest that as global temperatures rise, the Sahara could experience more frequent and intense rainfall. This shift is driven by warming oceans and a changing Intertropical Convergence zone, the weather system that influences Africa's rainfall. Some researchers believe that if these trends continue, parts of the Sahara could become greener and more habitable. At first glance, a greener Sahara seems like a remarkable transformation, possibly restoring landscapes that existed thousands of years ago. It could bring more agricultural opportunities, new ecosystems, and even human settlement in previously uninhabitable areas. Some speculate that stable water sources could support a new agricultural revolution. However, the reality is complex. Environmental shifts often bring unintended consequences. Excessive rainfall could lead to flash floods, eroding landscapes, and displacing ancient dunes. Instead of replenishing the land, floodwaters might rush downstream, causing destruction. A greener Sahara could also disrupt ecosystems and weather patterns across Africa, Europe, and the Americas. If desert sandstorms diminish, the Amazon rainforest could suffer from nutrient loss, as Sahara dust fertilizes its soil. Meanwhile, temperature shifts in the desert could alter Atlantic hurricane patterns, making storms in the Caribbean and the U.S. East Coast more severe or unpredictable. As the Sahara transforms, governments, scientists, and communities must prepare. Water management, flood control, and sustainable land use will be crucial to maximizing benefits while mitigating risks. But this change raises a bigger question. If one of Earth's most stable landscapes is shifting so dramatically, what does that mean for the rest of the planet? Is this part of a larger climate transformation, or just a natural cycle repeating itself? One thing is certain, this story isn't over. The Sahara's past may hold clues to its future, and as these changes unfold, we are witnessing history in real time. Will the desert continue its transformation or remain an unpredictable force? Only time and science will tell. If you found today's video interesting, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is very important to us. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen. You're sure to love the content we bring. Please leave a comment about which country you'd like us to explore next. Thank you for watching, and see you in the latest video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.